Hello and welcome back to the Formula 4 Southeast Asia Championship, fueled by Petron. As always, my name is Aaron Thompson and we'll be coming to you live for the second race of the season in just a moment. But before then, let's have a quick chat with Peter Thompson.
Welcome to year 4 at the Formula 4 Southeast Asia Championship, fueled by Petron. This is Petron's 4th season as the official fuel and lubes sponsor for the championship. And it's fantastic here to have their product delivered to the circuit, and it's been an excellent partnership between F4 Southeast Asia and Petron Corporation.
Thank you very much, Peter. And now up to race control to watch the start of the race.
In pole position, we have Lyubov Ozeria Raskovia. And then on second, we've got Ali Akabi, followed by Emil Skaris, Shriyan Naidu, Josh Smith, Alistair Young, Elias Sepanen, Malte Jacobson, Luca Allen, Hadrian David, Abdallah Bashara, Talal Bashara, and Muiz Mashafa. Of course, unfortunately, Lewis Leeds and Luke Thompson won't be able to join this weekend, but they may be back later in the championship. But at the moment, we're about to have our second race start of the year, and it looks like car number 27 or 28 has a problem. He's waving his hands. Car number 28 in position 4, that would be Shriyan Naidu. The green flag marshal has been stopped. The start will presumably be aborted, but he's going again now. That might mean that car number 22, actually. Car number 22, that's Alistair Young, sorry. Okay, away we go. Bit of a slow start from 46 in the pink. She's been taken around the outside and the inside. That's Alistair Young in the blue. Car number 22 now up into second position. That's a good start from him for fourth to second. But the big story is Ali Akabi, yellow number 64 car at the front of your grid, taking corner 1 in the lead. And looks like two cars, or 2 sets, or 3 sets even of cars going 2 wide through turn 1 and turn 2 as well if they can. Looks like that red car there, we can't quite make out the number at the moment as they come past the Malaysian flag of turn 3 and up the hill. It is quite a steep hill actually, but you can't make it out on this angle. But coming into turn 4 now, we can see Ali Akabi twitching a little bit as he brakes and comes in. That red car, that's number 5, that's Josh Smith from Australia. Josh has a lot of experience in these F4 cars, of course racing in F4 Australia last year. Well, there goes 2 more cars around that pink car that started on pole. So here we go now around turn 5, coming up into turn 6. Ali at the front, still right behind him. That's Alistair Young. Behind them, Josh Smith. Has an interesting 1, 2, 3 because these 3 drivers were battling for 5th, 6th, and 7th last time out. So it should be a very interesting fight at the front of the grid. Now let's see who's a little bit further back. In 4th, we've got car number 4. That's Emil Skaris. And directly behind him, if I'm not mistaken, that's Malte Jacobson. Malte Jacobson made an amazing move from 3rd to 1st in the first race, where he went around the outside of both cars through turn 1 and then up the inside at turn 2 as well. So we expect great things from Malte this weekend. Well, I should say more great things, as Ali Akabi seems to go a little bit wide coming out of turn 11. And it's very, very close between Hadrian David and Luca Allen. Hadrian David and Luca Allen, those were your winning 2 drivers last time around. So of course the 2 are going to be neck and neck, trying to fight their way up the grid and get back on the podium. As everybody knows by now, I'm sure F4 SEA has a reverse podium, whereby if you finish first in the first race, you'll start from last position. So that does make things extremely interesting in these 2nd and 3rd races. But this year we've added a 4th race to the schedule, and in the 4th race it's actually now based on the starting grid, I should say. It's based on your 2nd fastest lap from qualifying. So you get 2 reverse grids and 2 laps from qualifying. And side by side through turn 15, 2 sets of cars. Can't quite make out who they are, but that purple car, that's Emil Skaris, just ahead of Malte Jacobson, and just behind them, 58, that would be Elias Sepanen. They're going to go side by side as the 2 leaders go side by side as well. Alistair Young going to go around the outside of Ali Akabi. That's the yellow car on your inside. That's Ali Akabi, and in the blue, that's Alistair Young. Here we go. He can't quite make a move though, a little bit too far behind, but now he's going to set himself up beautifully to try and take something around turn 4. As they have all now crossed the start-finish line, let's quickly run through the order. We've got Ali Akabi, as we all know, in the front, Alistair Young just behind him, and Josh Smith just behind them. They're followed by Emil Skaris, Malte Jacobson, and Elias Sepanen. But this is where it gets interesting, folks. Hadrian David and Luca Allen, they're your 2 winners from the last time around. They're back in 7th and 8th, so just behind them as well, we've got Shriyan Naidu, and he's keeping up with them because of the battle between the two drivers who won the last race. So now, just a little bit further back, you've got 10th position Muiz Mashafa, and then Abdallah Bashara, Lyubov Ozeria Stova, and Talal Bashara. So coming around now through turn 8, we can see Ali Akabi managed to keep his lead. He's 1/10 up in the first sector and again 1/10 up in the second sector. But Alistair Young has a lot of experience at this Sepang International Racetrack. Of course, his national track, his home track. This is where he's going to want to win more than anything else. But it does look like we're going to have a move just behind them. Malte Jacobsen going up the inside of turn 9 against Elias Sepanen. That's Denmark versus Finland. Can't quite make it stick, but maybe he'll try something now coming into turn 11. As the 2 red cars just behind him might make a move as well. Not quite though, not quite close enough. Might be a smart idea there for Malte to hold off, get himself in the perfect position to make a safe move through turn 15, but that's not what we want to see. We want to see some of the infamous overtaking action that F4 is famous for, especially here at turn 14. That's, I've said it before, that's probably my favorite overtake between Adam Kallett and Alistair Young. Maybe Alistair Young can use that experience to try and take Ali Akabi there, because it is an unexpected maneuver that Ali might not be prepared for. Of course, now coming back to start-finish straight now, turn 15, you can see the rain is really starting to get quite heavy. These cars, I believe, went out on slick tires. Can't quite make it out from here, but that's the information I have. So the race director may need to make a call in the coming laps as to how to proceed. But until he does, it's at the driver's discretion, and we're glad for that, because look at this, ladies and gentlemen. The pack is bunched up beautifully. We're into the 3rd or 4th lap now, and look, this looks like there's 1 or 2 seconds between 1st and 10th. Here we go, Ali Akabi. Oh, Alistair Young has managed to get past Ali Akabi at some point. We must have missed that, because now Ali Akabi trying to take his position back through turn 1 and 2. Bravo, Alistair Young. Brilliant driving as he comes across the Malaysian flag once again through turn 3, up the hill into turn 4. What can Ali Akabi do, though? The Iraqi driver, of course, this is his first ever event in a Formula 4 car, and Alistair Young, we should note, had a whole season under him last year, so he's got a lot more experience than the Iraqi. So it is quite impressive that Ali is managing to keep up, and in fact, he's within 1/10 in the first sector, and we'll see now in a few seconds what happens in the second sector. But let's have a little bit look a little bit further down the grid. Elias Sepanen just set the fastest first sector of a 29.1 dead, which puts him 900ths of a second ahead of the leader. So he's going to start catching up to the front markers as well, as last lap around looks like Alistair Young set the fastest lap so far of the race. Back to the action now, coming down the straight until turn 9. Looks like Ali's going to make a move. That's the yellow car, number 64, coming up the inside of turn 9. Beautiful, but Alistair Young is going to switch back. He's going to take the position back around the outside of turn 8. That's brilliant driving, but Ali, don't give up. Come on, you can do it. Push back, take him through the inside of turn 14 even. Why not? We've seen it before. Here we go, a little bit squirrely there from Alistair. That's going to give Ali Akabi exactly what he needs. He's going to make a move up the inside of turn 12. No, not quite. Not quite close enough to make that stick. That's a smart decision from the driver there as they come around turn 13 now, and immediately after that turn 14, and back down the back finish straight. And this is going to be exactly what Ali wants. Alistair made a little bit of a mistake, a little bit squirrely coming out of turn 11, so Ali's going to be right up behind him. He's going to get the slipstream, and he's going to dive bomb. The only question is he's going to go inside or outside, as just behind him, Emil Scaris makes a move on Elias Sepanen. Or that's the number 5 car. That's the number 5 car. That's Josh Smith, I should say. Elias is, looks like Ali's gone around the inside, and Emil's going around the outside. And what's going to happen? Ali can't quite make it stick on Alistair Young just ahead of him. And just behind them, Emil can't quite make the move stick on Josh Smith either. But this is now going to play into the hands of Elias Sepanen and Malte Jacobsen, because Elias just set the fastest first sector, as we said. And just behind them, Hadrian David just set the fastest second sector. And he's 2/10 faster, or 1/10 faster than anybody else in that sector. And just behind him, Luke Allen, now 9/10 behind position 7. Just behind them in position 7, Luca Allen is, I should say position 8, Luca Allen is going to have to try and fight his way up to pull back onto the podium, I should say, because he wants to finish in front of Hadrian David, because his goal is to be the event champion come Sunday evening. But look how close these two front runners are, 22 and 64, as the Malaysian leads us across the turn 4, just ahead of the Malaysian flag once again, and they dive down into turn 5 with a beautiful stream of cars following just behind. The two leaders have each out a little bit of a lead now. They are about 1.5 seconds ahead of Josh Smith, who maintains his 3rd position, but he's under attack from Emil Scaris. You can see the purple car just right up behind the red car off your screens just a moment ago, as we look back to the leaders now, coming through turn 8 and down the straight until turn 9. A little bit wide there from Ali, and Emil follows him, and it looks like 2 red and blue cars just behind them. That's Elias Sepanen and I think Malte Jacobsen both went wide as well. We got a message a moment ago that race control has spotted a significant rain presence throughout the track now, so there may be That may be why everybody's starting to go a bit wide. Hopefully the racing action will continue, but of course it's at the race director's discretion to call a wet race at any time. And in that situation, the drivers would need to all change their tyres to wets. But here we go, 3 wide now. Josh Smith defending from Emil Scaris, and just behind him, Malte Jakobsen, if I'm not mistaken, as we look briefly back to the front of the grid before we see the 3 cars battling for 3rd position. And Malte Jakobsen jumps 2 cars at turn 14. That is amazing. Malte Jakobsen comes from position 5 up into position 3 at turn 14 of Sepang International Circuit as he leads us now back down the back finish straight, as it looks like Ali Akabi might be preparing to do something on Alistair Young at the front of the grid, but the action is a little bit further back as they're going to go 4 wide through turn 15. Oh, come on. Oh, Malte goes a little bit wide, and Emil has now jumped the 2 cars back, and now Emil Scaris comes from position 5 into position 3. Beautiful driving, and here's another red car. Is that Elias Apanin, who has taken advantage and is now up into position 4? He's going to try and dodge down the inside, but he's got nowhere to go because Emil is blocking him out beautifully, and they're going to be 4 wide coming through turn 1. No, I'm sorry, that's actually 26, that red car. That's Hadrian David. That's there. This is amazing racing, ladies and gentlemen, as they take us now through turn 2. What's going to happen? Emil Scaris still on top. Hadrian David looking for position. Where's Luke Allen? He must be that second blue car in the mix. Luke Allen following closely behind Malte Jakobsen at the start of this lap. But here we go. We can see the action again. This is another place where these drivers are going to try and make something happen. They're going to be 2 wide in 2 separate positions, 3 separate rows of 2 wide. That's beautiful driving. But Hadrian David has somehow managed to find his way up into position 3, getting past Emil Scaris and Josh Smith. As now Malte Jakobsen tries to make something happen on the Australian driver as well, and just behind him, Luke Allen is waiting for his opportunity to pounce. Here we go now, ladies and gentlemen, look at this bunch of cars. We've got Josh Smith trying to push off Malte Jakobsen, but that's pushing them both off the racing line, and now Luke Allen is closing in significantly, and he might try and dive down the inside of turn 8. Oh, there's a collision between Luke Allen and Malte Jakobsen. Luke Allen goes up the inside of turn 8, comes into contact with Malte Jakobsen. Malte spins around. Luca goes off track and damages his front wing. Looks like his main plate is bent up on the left side. Malte Jakobsen did seem to return to the track. Of course, there will be a steward's inquiry into that accident, but it did seem to just be a racing incident. Quick replay now. Here's the front runners, Alistair Young and Ali Akabi. And on the left of your screen, the 2 blue cars. There you go. You can see Luca colliding with the back of Malte Jakobsen. Malte spins around, seems to recover, but Elias Apanin gets past him. And there might be that purple car. That's Lyubov as well, trying to get past and make up some positions. But back to the front of the grid. Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. We've got 8 minutes left on the clock, and the gap between 1st and 6th is about 2 seconds. Yeah, it's about 2 seconds. That's brilliant. It's brilliant action to watch. Coming around turn 15 now, Alistair Young leading us through once again, just ahead of Ali Akabi. Looks like a move here from number 12, or number 13, I should say. That's Muiz Muchafa trying to make a move around the inside of Elias Apanin. What happened to Elias Apanin? He's moved back quite a bit, if I'm not mistaken. But Luca Allen, he's now behind Josh Smith, so he's got to get past the Australian driver because he needs to finish on the podium if he wants to keep his hopes for the weekend championship alive. Because, of course, Hadrian David is now up into position 3. Now that they've all crossed the start-finish line, though, let's have a quick run through the positions as with 8 minutes left to go on the clock. We've got Alistair Young in first, still holding it from the first lap. Beautiful driving, while Ali Akabi is just behind him. Hadrian David has somehow managed to find himself in 3rd position after starting at the back of the grid due to the nature of the reverse grid. And Emil Scaris is just behind him. Josh Smith following closely, and Luca Allen behind the top 5. So now Elias Apanin, we had said earlier in the race he was setting the fastest first sector. He might have backed off a little bit now, but he's got to try and catch up to Luca Allen because Luca's a little bit stuck behind Josh Smith, it seems. But let's have a look at the action now as Ali Akabi goes very wide. He's got a bent wing. And look at this, coming through turn 8. There's a little bit of fight now going through Emil Scaris and Ali Akabi. Ali Akabi, very unfortunately, he had been in 2nd position the whole race, has a bent up wing now, must have collided with the French driver Hadrian David at some point, and now Alistair Young has a lot to contend with. Quick replay of that action now. Here we go. So Ali was just coming wide here. This is obviously after the incident with his front wing. Hopefully we can get a replay of what happened with Ali Akabi's front wing so we can find out what happened there as well. As Emil Scaris was definitely pushed a bit wide, but that doesn't seem to phase him. Still going strong in 4th position. Or it must be third position now. You can see Hadrian is all over the back of Malaysian's Alistair Young though. And the blue car at the front of the grid, that's Alistair Young, car number 22, just behind him, 26, and the red car, that's Francis Hadrian David, just behind both of them, Emil Scaris in the purple number 4, and one step back again, Ali Akabi. Look at the rain on your screen though now, ladies and gentlemen, as Hadrian David makes a move around the outside of turn 15. That might be a smart move because the rain that might not be a smart move, I should say, because the rain might be all draining down the outside in these conditions, but they are side by side nonetheless, coming down the start-finish straight as Alistair Young tries to push off Hadrian David, but he just doesn't quite have the same exit speed as the French driver as they come into turn 1 now, and once again Hadrian David takes the lead. But Alistair Young, of course, knows this track very well, and Emil Scaris just behind him has had a lot of testing in the pre-season, so these drivers are not going to give up anytime soon, and they will be challenging the young Frenchman until the end of the race as they come around turn 3 now, once again with a new race leader. The first time this race that Hadrian takes us through turn 4 at the front of the pack. Just behind him, Alistair Young. Behind them, the purple car of Emil Scaris. Is anybody close enough to try anything? Not quite. Of course, we are used to last year seeing a Frenchman leading us around. That was Alessandro Giretti, who has now moved on to Formula 4 EDAC, and he's with the Sauber F1 development team. Great to see an F4 driver stepping up as the rain just seems to keep going, but we're still racing and they're still on the same tires they started on, so bravo to these drivers to be continuing in these conditions. And I don't think we've seen any big spins. That little collision between Luca Allen and Malte Jacobsen was the biggest one that I've noticed, but you can see the spray coming off the back of these tires now as we come down into turn 9, and Ali Akabi might be suffering more than most because his front wing is obviously a lot less effective now that it's bent up, and that's going to give him less downforce, so of course he'll have less grip and he'll be in wet conditions going through these corners. So it's really quite impressive the Iraqi driver hasn't had any offs yet, and I don't want to give him the commentator's curse, but he's driving brilliantly this weekend, and I hope he continues to do so, and maybe we'll see him on the podium very soon, because if he remains where he is, because he is a rookie, he will be 3rd place in the rookie standings. So Hadrian David, Emil Scaris, and Ali Akabi, that's 1, 2, 3 in the rookies. Coming around turn 14 now, of course, Emil Scaris not happy being a second rookie. He wants to be 2nd overall. I'm sure he wants to be 1st overall as well, but first he has to get past Malaysia's Alistair Young, who's not going to make it easy for him, as right behind a lot of them there's Ali Akabi as well. Now he's going to try and make a move up the inside of Emil Scaris. As all the drivers come around turn 15 now. Coming back down the start-finish straight, we've got almost 3 wide as Alistair Young tries to push everybody to the outside, and Ali Akabi has beautifully managed to retake 3rd position from Emil Scaris with a bent-up wing nonetheless. Emil's going to try and make a move up the inside now, and Ali is going to go around the outside like we've seen Malte Jacobsen do before. He might just pull it off, ladies and gentlemen. And he does so. That's beautiful racing. Look at that. Ali Akabi up into P2, getting past Emil Scaris and Alistair Young, ladies and gentlemen. This is beautiful racing to watch. Look at this. These 4 drivers battling for 2nd position. We've got Luca Allen, Alistair Young, Ali Akabi, and Emil Scaris all tussling it out with 3 minutes left to go. That gives us maybe 2 laps left, and it's all now fighting for 2nd position as Hadrian David starts to pull away at the front of the grid. We're coming through turn 5 now. We can see Ali Akabi has dropped back 1 position, with Emil managing to get back into 2nd. As coming through turn 6, the 2 blue cars just a little bit behind the yellow car are desperately trying to find a way past, but we can see that the rain is really starting to have an effect here in this race with all the spray coming off of those tires. They do seem to have slowed down a little bit as Emil drifts a little bit coming out of turn 9. You can barely see any of the cars behind him except for Luca Allen, who's taken a little bit of a wider angle. Might try and dive up the inside of Alistair Young now. Not quite close enough to do it, but he gets side by side, and Alistair spins his wheels a little bit, and Luca Allen manages to get past on the outside of turn 10. Beautiful driving. But 3 drivers all go very, very wide coming out of turn 11, and sailing past them now is Josh Smith in the red car. Emil rejoins the... Oh, that's Elias Sapanin, I should say. Correction, Elias Sapanin is now up into P3, it would look like. And I've just seen, ladies and gentlemen, we've red flagged the race now. Obviously, the race director saw those 3 cars go off at turn 11 and thought it would be safest to stop the race. So, of course, these drivers can all see the red flags. It's clearly waving there at that marshal post just in front of us. Here's a quick replay of the drivers going wide. First, Emil goes wide, and Alistair Young and Luca Allen just behind. Ali Akabi and Luca Allen just behind him follow suit. And here's Elias Sapanen happily sailing into third position. He's going to be the happiest driver on the grid, but I'm sure there's going to be some very, very disappointed drivers. Especially Ali Akabi, he fought beautifully for that position. He really deserved it. And Malte Jacobsen and Luca Allen really fought hard as well. But we can see Hadrian David has already returned to the pit lane, and it looks like another yellow car. Can't quite make out the angle. The number from this angle might be Abdallah Bashara. Has unfortunately seemed to have beached himself at, I think that might be turn 9. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that's the outside of turn 9. As all the cars return to the pit lane, and of course, because there's only 40 seconds left on the time, they're just going to have to end the race in the pit lane, which is unfortunate because we had a beautiful race, wonderful to watch. Not the ending we had all hoped with the checkered flag, but still nonetheless action down until the last moment.
Crazy race, lots of action. Unfortunately, after 5 laps, I had a problem with the gearbox, so I started to lose a little bit of time, but luckily on the end, the crew was battling a lot and I managed to get up some places. Of course, you need to change the brake bias. You can't be so aggressive with the brakes.
Yeah, it's been really good. Obviously started with free practice, P1 and that, and then qualifying was a little bit worse, 4th and 3rd. Then yeah, in race 2, had a bit of a slow start because I had a few problems with the engine, then a bit of confusion, but yeah, got going straight away. Me and Hadrian had a nice battle, and then I just started kind of making my way up the field then, and luckily a few drivers got penalties at the end and I ended up P2. Especially on slicks here, you just have to try all different lines, and really good battle between all the drivers, everyone making a few mistakes, so always room for overtake. For a while it was just 7 and 8, just in the wet. It was really slippy there, so it was really hard to control your car. But yeah, no, it was over the course of the race, the whole track got wet. So I went up the inside going into turn 8 because he ran a bit wide coming out of 7, and then just got squeezed. I tried to back out of it, I was all over the curb, but unfortunately I was squeezed a bit too much, so there was contact made. But yeah, these things happen in racing. Make my way up, I suppose. Pick off one by one, hopefully no contact with anyone, have a clean race, and finish up as high as I can.
It was a good race. I had made a quite okay start. After when it started to rain, it got really interesting and a lot of battling, and I had a bit of luck with some drivers getting penalized in the end. So yeah, it was a good race. Do my best and try to make up some positions. Yeah, it was a big difference, and I think it was very difficult because the track changed from every lap. So one lap was one thing, one line, and then got a bit more dry or a bit more wet. So yeah, it was very difficult. I think like the middle part, the middle laps, there was, I think, where I was fighting the most, and yeah, made some nice battles.